This week on the Millennial Weight Loss Podcast, we're going to be doing a new kind of series. So we've done a couple of different things in terms of looking at how you can eat at a chain restaurant successfully without gaining weight or retaining weight and trying to get healthy. We've also gone over different mental components. But this week, I want to go into a 5-part series about where to start when you have 50 or more pounds to lose. You don't want to miss it. Today, we're going to talk about acknowledging the fact that you need to make the change and that it's okay. I'm Pete Weintraub. I'm a permanent weight loss specialist, and you're watching or listening to the Millennial Weight Loss Podcast. Welcome to the Millennial Weight Loss Podcast. My name is Pete Weintraub. I'm a permanent weight loss specialist. And if you're watching this, you're most likely a millennial who has 50 or more pounds to lose. You're tired of your friends, your family, your coworkers, whoever judging you for being overweight, and you're ready to make a change. You just don't really know where to go from here in terms of information, motivation, all of that. That's what this show is about, and that's what I'm looking to provide. So, like I mentioned at the top of the show, what we're looking to do today and this week is go over where to start if you have 50 or more pounds to lose. We alluded to this on some previous episodes, but I figured I'd give this a whole series so we can really get you moving in the right direction. I want to go into my personal struggle because that's the best way I can relate to you. So, long story short, I lost 100 pounds from my heaviest to where I am now. I struggled with childhood obesity. I grew into my body through playing sports and just going through a growth spurt in my teenage years. And despite not gaining a freshman 15 my freshman year of college, I gained a sophomore 70 pounds the first 3 months of my sophomore year of college. When I went home, my friends and family from home started to rag on me, saying, "What the hell happened to you? It's been 3 months and you ballooned." And then when I got back to school, my friends started to notice my dating life went from very, very good leading up to that point to non-existent. And my confidence for the first time since I was a kid really began to wane. So it was at the end of that academic year, about 4 or 5 months later, that I decided to make the change and begin my journey. And not only did I lose the 70 pounds that I gained, but through discovering different nutritional strategies and the fact that I had an allergy to the whey and casein proteins found in dairy, I was able to lose an additional 30 on top of that, and thus I've lost exactly 100 pounds. Now, when I first started getting shit from my friends, my family, whoever, both at school and at home, I didn't want to acknowledge it. And my clothes were getting tighter, and sometimes to the point that I couldn't even fit into them, like my jeans and dress pants and things like that were not fitting. So obviously my lower half, which is where I tended to retain weight, was getting larger. I wasn't really seeing it in the mirror. I thought I was still this jacked, ripped, 18, 19-year-old kid that I thought that I was, and that wasn't the case. There were pictures here and there that would pop up on Facebook and stuff from going out and things like that, and I didn't really notice it at first. But then it started to dawn on me when people started to rag on me, which, yes, it hurt my feelings. Yes, it bothered me. I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to be looked down upon. I started to notice it myself. First, I was resistant to it. I was like, you know what? I can deal with this. And I've had clients over the years too who have gone through that same phase. I'll never forget, I had a client who was exactly my age. He was still living at home. His parents contacted me, and I didn't really know who it was for or anything. So I went there, I met them, and the parents said, "This isn't for us." And then they had their son come out, and he was average height, and he was almost 400 pounds, right? So he's like a 5'6", 5'7" dude, 400 pounds, where thereabouts. I think he was like 380 or something. And it was astonishing to me. Like, I'd rarely come across someone who was that heavy and that wide and really desperately needed it. And they told me that, he was already having some heart issues and some respiratory issues, that his teeth were rotting, like he was eating so much sugar and crap that his teeth were literally rotting. And I remember, because I worked with the kid for almost a year, almost every other month he had to have a major dental surgery done, to the point that we missed at least one or two sessions a week because he was dealing with that. And he was very resistant to it. And that's why now I don't really work with anybody who doesn't personally want this, who doesn't personally want to make the change, who isn't personally investing in this for themselves, because he didn't care. He was under the impression, and sometimes obviously, we're younger, we're very stubborn, we think we're invincible and that we can just click our fingers and everything will magically change overnight. And it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And in his case, he kept saying, you know what? I don't really need this. I'm just doing it because my parents are paying me for it. Like, he wasn't even awake half the time. Like, I met him early in the morning, like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, because he worked. And I'd show up, his parents would let me in, and I could hear him from the living room of their house snoring. He had sleep apnea as well, snoring loudly, like he wasn't even awake. He didn't give a shit. So shortly into our relationship, I was like, dude, listen, I'm waking up early. I'm driving out here. Your parents are paying for this. You do need this. Not trying to be a dick, but you do need to lose this weight, man. Like, I was 100 pounds heavier than I am now, but you'd still have a couple hundred to go after you lose your first 100 pounds. Like, what's going on with you? And he said, well, honestly, I don't really care about this right now. I'm only here because my parents are still supporting me and blah, blah, blah. And I know what to do. I know I can lose the weight. I said, so why don't you work with me on this? Like, I've been there, I've done that. And he was very resistant, and he never got on track. And that was one of the few times in the 10 years I've done this that I've ever actually fired a client, for lack of a better word, because I kept showing up, I kept doing my best to motivate him, I kept giving him tips, and he wouldn't do anything. He just continued to gain weight. He continued to spiral out of control with his health. I don't know where he's at now. I hope he's still alive. But it was literally a dire situation, and he thought he was invincible. When you recognize that something has to change, and unfortunately, regardless of the comments and the bullshit from people, it doesn't click overnight. You don't notice it overnight. You're always going to prioritize other people and other things over yourself. It's something called martyr syndrome. If the warning signs are there, and you're conscious of them, but you're teetering on the fence of whether or not you want to start moving in the right direction, then you gotta start moving in the right direction. You gotta just decide, you know what, today's the day that I'm not going to continue this spiral, because there are 3 things that contribute to weight gain. It's eating a diet high in refined processed sugars, carbohydrates like grains, and etc. 2, it's not getting consistent quality sleep on a regular basis. And 3, it's being sedentary and not moving on a daily basis. You don't have to be a CrossFitter, you don't have to be a workout freak in order to lose the weight. If you're not taking care of all that stuff, you're going to be in a bad spot. So I definitely recommend that if people are saying stuff to you and they weren't saying it before, then that's a sign that something is happening and you're trending in the wrong direction. When you see these things, acknowledge it, because that's the first step that you need to take in order to succeed on your weight loss journey. So acknowledge it and then accept it. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, June 12th, we are going to go over what you can start to do. And it's one thing at a time, but what you can start to do to get you moving in the right direction. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope for you folks who are teetering on the fence about whether or not you should start on this journey. If you're just watching some YouTube videos or listening to some podcasts about health, fitness, nutrition, and you're trying to motivate yourself or learn something before you actually start, I implore you, please start today. All right. So before we go, guys, I want to give you a cool offer. So in the description below, you're going to find a link to both my food guide and my healthy recipe book. The food guide goes over the 3 phases of nutrition that I teach my permanent weight loss clients, and they're the basis to losing weight and getting healthy once and for all. The recipe book, which is bundled with it, has 72 recipes spanning breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, appetizers, and desserts. And I went over this on the last show, but I'll reiterate. It's important that you at least cook a few times a week. It'll save you money. Getting groceries is a lot cheaper than ordering takeout, getting fast food, or having a meal delivery service. And you can make sure, unlike a lot of these other options out there in terms of food, that you control what's in the ingredients. You actually know and see what's going into your food versus being reliant on a restaurant, whether high quality, low quality, or a meal delivery service. So you definitely want to check that out. Usually both ebooks sell for $25 a piece, which means they would sell for a total of $50. But today you can get both for just $13.99, just under $7 per ebook. So you definitely want to check that out. The link is weightlossbypete.com/food guide recipes. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll come back at you tomorrow, Tuesday, June 12th. This is Pete Weintraub, permanent weight loss specialist, signing off. Have a great rest of the day. Talk to you tomorrow.